Film looks can actually be applied to almost any camera, whether it's something small like the Osmo Nano or bigger camera like the FX30, and matching the color is way easier than people think. But when people try to learn color grading to get that film look we see all over social media, it often feels way more complicated than it should be. And I will show you in just 2 minutes. As a beginner, questions starts popping up. What even is log footage? Like S-log or D-log? Why do we need it? Which editing app should we use? What camera settings actually matter? And is there a faster way to do all of this? The short answer is yes. There is a plugin that simplifies all the workflow and speed things up without spending thousands on course or watching endless color grading tutorial. So I'll run through the entire process step by step in just 2 minutes. I'm using Premiere Pro, but the logic stays exactly the same whether you're on DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut Pro. So it's enough of me yapping and let's start the countdown in 2 minutes. So I have a few money shots here. What we need to do first is make an adjustment layer. And this is the footage from the Osmo Nano and this is the footage from the FX30. So let's start with the FX30 footage. I'm gonna to effect and look for the Dehancer and apply it to the adjustment layer. And after that, you can go to input, change the source to choose the camera. There's a lot of camera profile right here. And I will choose the FX30 settings, which is right here. And I can choose the film looks that I want. Most of the time I use the Kodak Portra. Let's use the Portra 400. And then after that, I can play around with the film developer. There's basic settings like contrast, gamma correction, color separation, and color boost. And this is the three main elements of the film looks: the film grain, halation, and the bloom. For the film grain, the lower the millimeter shows more grain, and the higher the ISO shows even more grain. For natural look, I usually use like 35mm and 250 ISO, and for the halation, I use like Super 35 or sometimes Super 16, and for the bloom I can choose like 16 to get more bloom. So after setting all of this, I can have a bigger picture of my footage. I can play around with the exposure again to get the balanced exposure, adjusting the contrast, play around with the temperature, and as an extra for other footage, what do you need is just to set and readjust the exposure. For example, every footage has different exposure. This footage, for example, since I'm using the settings for this footage and turns out too dark for this footage, so I can play around with the exposure. Let's back it to 0, and I can play around with the contrast boost to make it more natural. And basically that's 2 minutes. We're all done. And that's exactly how I match every footage easily. This is also why having a proper camera settings in the first place is really important and take a part here. So you don't have to struggle with color balance, with exposure. So it's easier whenever you want to edit the footage. You just need to adjust a little bit for every footage. And this is applied the same when I want to match my footage from another camera. For example, this is the footage from the Osmo Nano. And as you can see, if I just copy and paste the color sets I already set for the FX30, it looks very broken. What I need to do first is change the camera source to the Osmo Nano camera profile. But since the Dehancer doesn't have the profile yet, since this camera is pretty new, the closest I can get is the DJI Pocket 3D Log M profile. So let's fix a few things. For example, the exposure comp, the temperature. I can play around with the temperature, the contrast boost, let's make it normal, and the gamma correction, the color boost, and that's basically it. That's how I match every color for every footage. This is really helps me to edit faster, while having the film look color is no more complicated where you have to do it manually. But anyway, I'm just gonna show you my exploration with the Dehancer. Now that you have seen the result, let me explain why this works. So you're just not copying settings, but actually controlling the look. As I said it in the first place, the proper camera settings are actually matter here. The two most important elements is the white balance and the exposure. So in bright sunny days environment for my Osmo Nano, I always use like auto settings, but limited to -0.7 EV. It's actually to keep the exposure well balanced, but a little bit darker exposure. And for the white balance, I'll always lock it in 50-100 to 5500. For all condition, I mean like that's the most neutral white balance for any camera. It's also applied the same when I'm using bigger camera like the FX30. Most of the time I will just play around with the ISO or play around with any filters to keep the exposure well balanced. So by doing this, you can save a lot of time in editing, so you don't have to manually adjust the exposure again. And the next you want to pay attention to is the profile lock, which is the S lock, D lock, F lock and everything. Basically, profile lock will result your footage like unwashed footage, so it's like unseasoned food. The color is plain, contrast is low, in order to give the maximum possibilities to edit the color later in the post. So it gathers a lot of data from what we shoot, such as the color data, the contrast data, the lights and everything. For most camera, there's a setting that we can change the profile lock. For example, when I'm using the FX30, I can find it in the menu and then I can just switch the picture profile from PP off to PP6. This is the settings by default where PP6 is set to S-Log 3. And if your camera is already having the 10-bit feature, then you can use it. So basically 10-bit is giving you more data on the color. If I compare with 8-bit, 8-bit is only producing like 16.7 million colors, but 10-bit is producing like 1 billion colors, and that's a huge gap there. And for the Osmo Nano, I can use like the 10-bit D-Log M here. When I'm go to settings, there's 3 options: the normal 8-bit, the normal 10-bit, and the D-Log M 10-bit. I'm gonna use the D-Log M 10-bit so I can adjust the color more in the post with the Dehancer and match the color with my main camera, which is the FX30, so my vlogs look seamless. A simple explanation about the film looks. So every film stocks is actually producing different colors because it's made from different chemical layers that react to lights in unique ways. Each layer is sensitive to certain colors, and the way those chemicals respond creates the distinct color, contrast, and highlight behavior we associate with different film stocks. Digital cameras capture colors mathematically, while the film captures color chemically. And since film roll is very expensive now, Dehancer tried to make the similar look for digital cameras, so it's easier and it's cheaper. And I'm not done yet. Dehancer is now works on your mobile phone too, where you can just download their app on App Store, and I think it really helps a lot when I'm travel and I just want to post on my socials really quick. It actually works like the Lightroom on mobile, but with all the presets like the film looks and everything. So for example, I have this picture on me and I can just choose all the presets that already provided by them, and there's so much film looks here. Okay, let's say I just wanna find the Portra 400 or Portra 800. Okay, for example, they have the Kodak Portra plus Endura, and I can just edit the exposure, the contrast, saturation, the color density here. And there's still a lot of effect down here. As you can see, there's a film grain where you can make a custom. So I can just choose like the 35mm ISO 250, and the amount, I can choose the amount too. I can play around with the halation too here. Let's just use the 16mm, and the bloom effect, I can just use the 35 or 16. I can also play around the contrast boost and using the gamma correction, and there's the color boost. This is a little bit of color adjustment, whether you want to change the tone to yellow or blue. Okay, the yellow is a bit perfect. Oh, let's set it to green tone. It's look like a little bit of dreamy old film look effect. Okay, let's save this. I can try another effect. For example, I want to make it black and white. I can choose Ilford. Okay, there's actually a lot of black and white preset, and I'm gonna try with the Ilford XP2 Super 400, and let's edit this. I think it's perfect already. I don't need to edit it, to be honest, but yeah, let's just try. Okay, I'm gonna add more film grain. I'm actually gonna use the 16 and 500 ISO to add more film grain. So let's try with the bloom. I'm using like 35. Let's adjust the amplify to add more bloom. If I just mesh the amplify, yeah, I think there's something going on there. Okay, I think this is perfect already, and let's just save this. So it actually also works perfectly for the video, but there's still limitation here where you can only add like one video and then you need another app to edit the whole video. For example, like you can use CapCut to compile all the video. But actually this is really helps me when I'm away and I'm not with my laptop and I just want to make a story for my socials. Then I can just use my own preset on Dehancer and just post it. That's pretty easy. Anyway guys, thanks to Dehancer for supporting this video, and if you want to start with Dehancer, I have 10% off discount that you can use with my code in the description down there. I can't wait to explore more in my future trip, so I guess I'll see you in the next video.